Hey everyone, this is Finity with the Mighty Sai, but to most people, I'm also part of one of the hosts of the Real Sith of Genius. I'm here today just to kind of give you guys a quick demo of how to do Phase 1 of the Rancor. I think a lot of people are interested in Phase 1, mainly because that's where you seem to be able to do the most damage in a raid and get the higher ranks. And there's some strategies involved to it that you guys will be able to hopefully be able to see as we go through some of these things. So first off, let me just kind of go through some character compositions. There are two compositions in particular that tend to carry the most weight when you go into Phase 1. The first one is without Teebo. So you see him on the side here. I won't use him quite yet. But without him, the character that you'll want to have as a lead is Phasma. And I'll show you my Phasma, how I have her modded up right now. She's basically all potency because in Phase 1, the captain seems to have, just kind of from general gameplay, seems to have about 65 tenacity. With all characters having a minimum of a 15% chance of resisting, you need to make sure that all of your characters have at least 50% potency if they're going to be in Phase 1 and have some kind of debuff. Phasma is really good because she has the Fusillade, which allows her to slow, and you definitely want to make sure that you Omega this so that you have the 90% chance. And you'll see that my Phasma is completely Omega'd out. So the Fusillade is definitely important, and you want to make sure her potency is higher than 50. Mine is at 82% right now because I use Phasma for Phase 2 and 3, which is a whole different monster entirely. But outside of the slow, the other ability that makes Phasma so good is Victory March. Advantage is one thing, but also the turn meter gain, which allows you to go on the captain an extra turn before the captain goes, is also going to be really, really helpful. So Phasma is going to be your best lead here. After Phasma, a character that you will want to have just in general in your collection, but also really useful in the raid, is going to be Qui-Gon Jinn. And Qui-Gon, I have more with speed mods because Qui-Gon, again, you want to make sure that his potency is above 50%. He has one of the higher potencies bit on just character alone. So him and Dooku are the two highest character potencies. And you'll see that he's currently at 81% for me, but only 18% is actually from mods. So he has near 70% potency just on his own. So I went more with speed mods for him and with a couple of health mods. So his importance is that his basic attack has a chance to remove turn meter. So he'll be useful in this group as well as the Teebo group. The other abilities you don't have to really Omega out. I Omega'd him out because he was one of the characters that I use a lot in this game, and I have been playing for a while, so I have a lot of characters. But if you're going to be Omega-ing any abilities, the specials of Phasma, which is the Victory March and the Fusillade, you should try to Omega, and Qui-Gon Jinn's basic is definitely one that you want to Omega. After the Qui-Gon Jinn, you'll want to have Rey. And Rey is one of the best DPSs in the game. And she's basically just going to be a lot of damage against the captain. It's pretty much that simple. I have her with crit damage mods right now. But you guys can kind of equip her however you want. She's pretty flexible. You can use more speed mods if you want to get her to go more often. I've seen people actually use crit chance on her. I give crit damage because I know that I'm going to be using advantage. And even naturally, you can see that she has a 38% chance to crit. So even with 40%, I prefer her to have more damage. So you'll see that her critical damage right now is at 204 for me. So that's how I like to equip Rey. Other character that you'll want to have is GS. And GS is just an overall good DPSer. Why they made such a generic character so good, I'm not really sure, but he is that good. I have him loaded up with crit chance mods because of his hive tactics. He gets 50% turn meter whenever he scores a critical hit. So he ends up going quite often if you load him up with crit. And with all the crit chance that I have him at, he's at 50% right now. So he's basically going an extra time repeatedly. Now comes the all-important 5th position. 5th position is where a lot of players are going to struggle in getting the exact group composition. So if you're a pay-to-play, by the way, this is more intended towards free-to-play because I know pay-to-play will probably go more turn meter based. But even then, you want in your fifth spot, you will want a debuff remover because the captain in one of his abilities puts death mark. And death mark, if somebody hits you, you take a massive amount of damage, and most characters will usually die as a result of it. Not all. If you have a tanky character, they can sometimes survive, but for the most part, you're going to take massive amounts of damage, and pretty much your character will be gone. So you want to make sure that you remove that. There's a few characters that you can use. Rex is the one that's on the pay-to-play side. That if you guys have, he's really good. Maybe the best character for Phase 1. The other characters that you can use are Ewok Elder, who I have here. And he's, in my opinion, the best one outside of Rex because of his basic attack, which I have Omega'd here, that gives everybody turn meter, so your entire group keeps on going a little bit quicker. So this is really beneficial. The other one that a lot of people may have is going to be Admiral Akbar. And Akbar has a few different purposes. So It's a Trap is going to be his debuff remover. So he'll remove all effects. He gives a little bit of a heal. It's a nice thing to have, not the specific, but the thing that comes in really handy is Tactical Genius. And this is usable both in this phase with the Phasma lead and with Teebo lead. And Tactical Genius, whenever you use a special ability, allows your character to go an extra time. So in a Teebo lead, you could use his special ability if he doesn't have his stealth up in order to get himself 100% turn meter and maybe get stealth again with his leader ability, or better yet, if his stealth was on cooldown for 1 turn, you use his special attack, get 100% turn meter, and boom, his stealth ability is back. So Akbar is a really good overall character to use in Phase 1 also. So let me start with the one that I think is probably more common for most people, because I don't think a lot of people will get Ewok Elder just because he's kind of a slow farm. If you have him, definitely use him. I'm going to use him in the turn meter group. But just to kind of use different characters here, I'm going to go with Phasma lead, Qui-Gon, Rey, GS, and with Akbar. So let's go ahead and get to that. So we'll jump into the raid a little bit here, just so you guys can see. And this one I'll be honestly kind of quitting out in the middle, but I'm going to show you guys how it works because I want to show you guys the turn meter without having to do damage hunt in Phase 1. Okay, so there's 3 characters in this phase. First one is the Gamorrean Guard. He's on the left. He does mimic the Gamorrean Guard that you can get from your guild shipments. So he has his basic ability, which can inflict damage over time. He has his first special, which allows him to taunt, but also notice that it gives him retribution. This makes him fairly dangerous, and in my opinion, the first character that you want to kill. You also have his other special, which exposes you and does damage. So he's basically just a massive damage dealer. Nothing terribly special, but the thing to kind of keep in mind, the retribution. That can ruin your raid if you're not ready for it. Let's go to the other ad here, which is the Gamorrean Brute. Gamorrean Brute has a basic attack that puts in healing immunity. He has his first special, which is going to be buff immunity, ability block for 2 turns. And you have his last one, which is going to be his taunt, which gets defense up and he gains 70% turn meter. First thing that I want to make sure to caution everybody about. With your Akbar, with your Rex, with your Ewok Elder, If you're only using one of them, if you have two, you might have a little bit more flexibility. But if you're only using one debuff remover, do not remove the ability block, do not remove the health immunity, do not remove the expose. You have to save that for the death mark, because death mark will ruin your raid. The rest of it you can overcome by killing off the troops and doing a little bit of control. But if you don't have that up for the death mark, your raid is going to be basically ruined. Or your raid attack, I should say. The last character is going to be the captain, who, when you click on him, you'll see that it says 100% on top. That's because attacking any of the adds, so whether you attack the Gamorrean Guard or whether you attack the Gamorrean Brute, is not going to do any damage to the phase. Only damage to the Gamorrean Captain will actually count. Okay? So, Gamorrean Captain is the one that you have to worry about dealing damage with. He has his basic attack, which is just going to do a lot of damage. And you guys can read that. Bonus damage equal to max health. He has this ability, which is on cooldown right at the beginning, which allows him to call more of the guards. So, after 6 turns, you'll, first off, strategy-wise, you'll want to kill off these adds first, and we'll go through that. So you have 6 turns, basically, to try and kill the adds and then do as much damage to the captain as you can. So after 6 turns, he'll resummon them, and then you have to re-kill the adds. Then you have his first special, which is that all allies gain 30% turn meter, gain offense up, and require 30% of their max health. This is going to be crucial when you do the initial strategy. And then you have his final ability, which is the kill order, which is what he uses to place death mark on a character. Okay? So that's kind of the basics of the characters. Now, in terms of strategy, as I mentioned, I want to kill this left guard first. But I don't want to attack him necessarily off the bat. I've done this enough, so I kind of know what's about to happen here. The first thing that will happen is that the Gamorrean Captain will use his special ability where he gives everybody turn meter, and both of the guards will then end up gaining health. So any damage that you deal to the guards at that point will then be negated by the 30% health, unless you manage to kill them, obviously. Then what will happen is that the left guard will use his special ability, and he will expose a target, and then the right guard will taunt. So you'll see this as we play through, that's going to kind of be what the turn order is. Now, I might get a little lucky here at the beginning, but I'm going to kind of intentionally avoid that a little. But you could potentially remove the turn meter from the captain with Qui-Gon, and then you might be able to kill the captain before you might be able to kill one of these adds before the captain does his boost to his troops. But I'm going to just go straight damage here, just to kind of show you guys. But because of that, my strategy is always to start attacking the captain at the beginning. The captain will then use his abilities. The right guard will taunt. I'll then remove the taunt from the right guard and then just burst down the left guy. And if you guys have these troops, it should be pretty easy. Now, every now and then you might have to do a restart, but at the beginning, I just use basics because I want to save all the specials for the Gamorrean Guard. Okay, so let's get started here. Using my basic with Rey, I'll use his ally assist special for Qui-Gon because it's just a 2-turn cooldown and I want to avoid removing turn meter right now. It would be a good strategy actually to use it in general, but just for demonstrations here to show you guys. So you see that the captain did his boost. All his troops got turn meter. They got healed, but you didn't see it because I didn't attack them. He got the right guard taunted, and the left one then exposed my Qui-Gon. So we're pretty much right on track here. Next thing I want to do with Phasma, I want to try and slow down all the troops. Let's hope we can get all of them. Boom, got them all. Okay, expose, not something I'm terribly worried about. It's probably going to hurt Qui-Gon a little bit. If he dies, then I'll go ahead and just restart. But I now know kind of exactly what I'm in store for. So what I'm going to use with Akbar is going to be Tactical Genius. And that way I can get some... Okay, so Qui-Gon is now a little bit at half health. I'm still going to try and save Tactical Genius a little bit here. Okay. We have, let's see, Gamorrean. The Gamorrean Guard is still at half turn meter. Not really too worried about it. Let's go with Ray here. Okay, so now we have the death mark. Okay, so I want to try and get rid of that as soon as possible. My main concern is going to be the Gamorrean Guard. So I remove the taunt, and now I'm going to go straight after the Gamorrean Guard. Give everybody some turn meter. Actually, because Ray does so much damage with her special, and I see that Akbar and... let's play it safe here just for demonstration purposes. I think normally I would go after the Gamorrean Brute and just kill him with Ray. But this makes it a little bit safer. Get rid of the death mark. Now I can focus on the Gamorrean Brute. At this point, what I would do personally is put Qui-Gon with his basic attack on the Gamorrean Captain to try and remove turn meter. And boom, actually removed it. Everybody else will focus on the Gamorrean Brute himself. And now I'm off and running. Okay, so Qui-Gon took a few hits. He's still above half health, so no issues there. You have the Captain and he's slowed, right? And now you can just burst away. Do all the damage that you can repeatedly. Qui-Gon is the one that you guys might want to be a little bit careful about. He has the ability to remove turn meter, so his basic attack might actually be more valuable than any of his specials. The other thing which I didn't mention, by the way, Ray has the ability to get Foresight, and some of you might want to use Yoda in this phase also, just because of the Foresight aspect. The Captain will ignore Foresight. I'm not sure if it says it in one of his buffs here. I'm trying to see if it does. I don't see it. But just so you guys know, the Brute and the Guard will respect Foresight. So if they attack you and you have Foresight, you won't take any damage. The Captain, however, bypasses that. So Foresight against the Captain, not going to be useful. So trying to plan with Ray and Yoda isn't going to do terribly much. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep rolling here. And it looks like the gameplay shut down here for a second, so let me get that back up. Alright, so the only thing that you guys missed between that while my gameplay stopped here for a second was that I did the ally attack with GS. Rolling along here. Okay, Captain does some damage. Try to reduce turn meter. He's almost at full turn meter, so I use the ally assist with Qui-Gon. Okay, so you'll see now that his ability is up. So he's going to... this one, remember, that is only for his allies. So you guys do want to make sure that you're watching his cooldowns and whatnot. He's not going to be using this. There's no allies for him to really use this, so he'll continue just to kind of attack away. The one that you're worried about is going to be the one that's currently on a 2-turn cooldown, which is where he summons. Yay, I got him slowed. Try to reduce his turn meter. He resisted. Get Ray some offense up. Okay, still wandering around. So now he has his death mark up again. But Akbar also is going to have all of his abilities up, so not too worried about that. I know right now, and remember, one of the things you'll want to do is keep track of all of your cooldowns. So I know that Ray has her flurry up again, so I'm going to actually use Victory March here, and I'll use Tactical Genius. I want it on Ray, so I'm just going to do basic attack with GS, basic attack with Qui-Gon. And she used it on the... oh, good, she got it. Alright, so now I'm going to use the Flurry. Ray had Tactical Genius, so now she gets to go again. GS can use his ally. So we got the death mark like we expected. Remove turn meter. It didn't work. Basic attack. Death mark is gone. Okay. For some more damage. Alright, and now he summoned the guards. So at this point, you will basically repeat your strategy. But here is the one difference now at this point. You can see that the captain has very little turn meter. So it's quite possible that you would be able to kill off this guard before the captain uses the ability where he gives everybody turn meter and he gives everybody health. Okay? So in doing so, you can then consider attacking the left guard first. Okay? So you can attack the left guard, try to kill him down before the right guard, who also has very little turn meter, before he taunts, and before the captain actually does his heal and turn meter boost. So let's just go ahead and try this here, then I'll go ahead and stop the attack. But just so you guys also know, phase 1 of the raid, with our guild, we actually figured out what the exact amount is. And the amount of hit points in phase 1 is 1,872,454. So that is an exact amount that we managed to get, because we figured out we had people that actually did 100% phase 1 and 0 in phase 2. Okay, so again, it's 1,872,454. Okay, so that's how many hit points are in phase 1. Now, when you guys are going through this, you can use that number in order to try and figure out how much damage you did. So phase 1 started at 100%. I am currently at 82.12%, which means that I have done 17.88%. So if I calculate how much that is right now, that's about 335,000 damage. And my squad is still pretty much going. They're not as healthy as before, obviously, but they're still kind of rolling along nicely. So as you guys are doing your attacks, it's a good idea to kind of keep track of where you are in terms of damage, just so you have kind of a standard on how much damage you want to try and do. Okay, so you see that I managed to kill off the guard. Everybody now has a lot of turn meter. I'm going to save the special for now, and I'm focusing on the captain here until he does his ability. There goes the ability. We have the taunt. You don't have to remove the taunt, but I want the offense up, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Let's try to get it slow. Perfect. Okay. Burn down the brute here. Perfect. So now I'm off and running again on the captain. Alright? And I think you guys now see how this one works. So that's essentially going to be phase 1. With this kind of team, you can do about 300, 400, 500, up to 600, 700 damage that I've seen. So you get a pretty good range. Now this group is going to be pretty much unable to solo phase 1. But if you guys are trying to get a high damage, you'll get more damage this way in phase 1 than you will against the Rancor. Okay, so now let's go to a turn meter team. So a turn meter team is going to revolve around Teebo as the lead. Okay, so Teebo is going to be all about his turn meter reduction. So there's 2 abilities that you'll want to make sure that you omega for him as you go into phase 1. The first one, which is the one I would say do second if you have to kind of prioritize, is going to be his basic. And his basic, when you omega it, goes from removing 75% to removing 100% turn meter whenever he is stealthed with his basic. Okay, so if you read this then, as long as Teebo is stealth, he'll remove 100% turn meter. So the goal is to keep Teebo stealthed as long as possible. Okay, so that's going to be your #1 priority. In order to help with that, this is the ability that you'll want to omega first, which is his leader ability. And it increases the chance of, so with his leader ability, he'll actually have a 55% chance to actually stealth at the beginning of his turn. And it's not just him, it's going to be all the characters, which for the most part isn't going to help them, but the benefit is that they can avoid some of the single target actions. And so because of that, it's a nice little thing to have. The other thing that Omegaing it has, which helps your raid as a whole, is that when you Omega, it increases that chance that you see at the bottom. It says a 50% chance to gain 25% turn meter. It goes from 25% to 50%. So now all characters can gain 25% turn meter at the end of their turn. It's a huge benefit because with turn meter, it's all about trying to get your characters to go before the other characters go again. Okay. His special is also one that I like to Omega because if you saw towards at the end of the last run here, the captain had his offense up on. You can lead that up on the captain, and in a pinch, when Teebo's stealth ability is on cooldown, and maybe it comes up to his turn and he doesn't have stealth, you can use this special ability and actually remove 60% turn meter. So his special ability is actually pretty useful also, just not as useful as his basic and his leader ability. And I wouldn't bother, and as you can see, I wouldn't bother necessarily using or Omegaing his other special, which is the stealth gain for everyone, because granting stealth to other Ewok allies is a nice thing, but not necessary. It's more of a arena ability. Okay, so Teebo is going to be one of the cores of the group. Qui-Gon Jinn, who we went over, is another. For me, another one is going to be Phasma. Now, again, this changes a little bit if you have Rex, because then with Rex you can use 5s, and you kind of get that other setup. But just kind of going over my setup here, it's going to be Teebo lead, Qui-Gon, Phasma. Then, in addition to that, you need a debuff remover. I used Akbar before. With Teebo, I like to use Ewok Elder. And he's, again, a long farm. I've soloed him with Akbar also. So, it is possible with Akbar. But I like Ewok Elder because, as I think I showed you guys, his basic ability gives turn meter for him. So he has a 60% chance to gain 50% turn meter. But he also has a chance to grant other Ewok allies half that amount. So that means that the Teebo has a 60% chance to gain 25% turn meter, and other allies gain 10% turn meter. So that means Qui-Gon can get 10%, Phasma can get 10%. So this is a great ability to have. Not to mention that you have the Tribal Healer, which removes all negative status effects, so that removes Death Mark. And you have his special Res, which is good in a pinch. Okay, so now you come to that 5th spot. So again, the team so far is, and I'll just put it on the screen, I know it's going to reset, but it's going to be Teebo, Qui-Gon, Phasma, Ewok Elder. In that 5th spot, you are going to ideally want somebody that removes turn meter. So I've seen this group with Rex again in that spot, and it works well. Okay, so you can use Rex. You can use Chewie. Chewie is also a good one. I think Ewok Scout, I don't have him yet. I'm working on him, but Ewok Scout might be the best one for this group because he gains the turn meter along with Ewok Elder, Teebo, so you can help with the Ewok synergy there. The one that I use is going to be Tusken Raider. Okay, so again, if you look at his mods, it's all about potency, trying to get him up above 50%. Mine is at 64%. He's gear 9, not even gear 10, so you can get that. I do have the scanner on him though, so he does have that potency. Okay, but I'll go ahead with the group now. But the group is, the one that I use is going to be Teebo, Qui-Gon, Phasma, Ewok Elder, and Tusken Raider. If you guys, for example, have Teebo, Qui-Gon, Phasma, and Admiral Akbar, and you don't have a turn meter reducer, use a character like GS, Geonosian Soldier, not a Rey. Rey does a lot of damage, but her flurry attack actually counts as 3 different attacks, so the captain will gain more turn meter. You want to try and keep his turn meter low. And the other benefit of Geonosian Soldier is that with his ally attack, with that group, you have a chance of calling Teebo or Qui-Gon and reducing turn meter with the ally attack. And so because of that, it would be a good idea to, if you only had Akbar, maybe a team like this here. So Teebo, Qui-Gon, Phasma, Akbar, and GS. So that would be a pretty solid group. Let me go ahead though with my other group and let's see how far I can get. We're in a raid as you guys saw, so this is going to be my attack. Remember that don't be afraid to restart your attack if things don't go your way at the beginning. Okay. With turn meter though, I go a little bit of a different strategy because I can control the Gamorrean captain's turn meter a little bit more. So I'm going to try, and that didn't work, but I'm going to try and keep his turn meter low first. Okay. So Teebo got his stealth. Hope he hits. Perfect. Okay. So now I've gotten rid of the turn meter of the captain even before he went. And so now I'm in basically no danger of having him give turn meter and healing to the captains. Or to the ads, I mean. So now I can go ahead and try to burst down the Gamorrean guard. Even though I know the right guard is going to taunt here shortly. Yep. And I can just dispel that. Okay. With my Teebo though, I'm still going to focus on the captain. Try to keep his turn meter down so I can keep on firing away at the guard. Okay. So strategy with turn meter. So far it's been pretty straightforward. I haven't used anything special, right? But now comes Victory March. Victory March is a clutch thing for Phasma. So remember that the goal of a turn meter group is to keep turn meter on Teebo, or to keep stealth on Teebo as long as possible. So far I got a little lucky here at the beginning. I've had 2 turns with Teebo, and he's managed to stealth himself with his lead ability, and I haven't had to use his special. Victory March is beneficial in 2 circumstances. I'm going to use it here for a different one in a second, but I'll explain why. But the 2 circumstances is first, if Teebo is behind in turn meter from the captain, and it looks like the captain may go again before Teebo has a chance. And then you can use Victory March in order to get Teebo to go before the captain in order to try and reduce the turn meter. Or you use Victory March in order to speed up the rounds between the cooldowns for Teebo. So if Teebo has, for example, 2 rounds, he's currently unstealthed, right? So the last attack, Captain was still gaining turn meter. Teebo is unstealthed. His stealth ability is on cooldown for, let's say, 2 turns. You can use Victory March in order to speed up how quickly Teebo will go again. And then it becomes 1 cooldown, much quicker. But also you have another chance of having him gain turn meter and again reducing the captain's turn. So the other situation, so right now on the current situation, I got lucky with Teebo. I haven't had him, I've stealthed him for 2 turns with his lead ability, so I know his stealth ability is up. So both of the uses right now for Phasma are kind of low, right? The captain is slowed, and after Ewok Elder goes, Teebo's going to go ahead of the captain, so I'm not worried about Teebo going again. But I'm going to use Victory March here because I want to just quickly burn down the guard before he actually deals damage. And because I know Teebo's stealth ability is still up, I'm not worried about Teebo stealthing properly. Okay, so I'm using my Victory March, focusing on the Gamorrean guard. Okay. And he's gone. Teebo managed to stealth again, which is perfect. Let's see. I'll focus on the captain still. Work on burning down the brute. Okay, and now we're off and running. Okay, so now it's all about basic attack. So basic attack with Qui-Gon to try and reduce turn meter. You see that Teebo lost his stealth, so use his stealth ability. His stealth ability gains turn meter to all Ewok allies, so that's why Ewok Scout would have been better than Tusken Raider in this point. Good, Teebo hit. Tusken Raider's basic does turn meter removal also, just not as proficient as Qui-Gon or Teebo, but when Tusken Raider hits, it's like a 50% turn meter reduction. So it works out really nicely. Okay, Qui-Gon hit. Good. And just in case some of you guys are concerned, there is a bug with Teebo where his stealth will sometimes end early. And in that situation, you guys just have to try and roll with it. It's up to you whether or not you want to restart. But in most situations, if you have like a full turn meter team, there's ways around it. You just kind of work your way through it. So I have this going on. Hopefully Tusken Raider. Oh, he didn't hit. Let's try the victory march here. Come on, Qui-Gon. Oh. This should give Teebo turn meter. Perfect. Come on. Boom. So there is obviously a little bit of RNG and a luck, but you guys got to see there what I meant about the Phasma victory march. So Teebo didn't have stealth, and he wasn't going to go again before the captain. I used victory march. Qui-Gon got a shot at turn meter reduction. It didn't work though. But then Ewok Elder went. Ewok Elder would go ahead and give Teebo turn meter, which boosted him above the captain, and Teebo got the lead ability stealth. With Admiral Akbar, by the way, let me get back to Teebo's turn here. Okay. Okay. So with Admiral Akbar, in a situation where, let's suppose, Teebo was not stealthed right now, in the turn before Teebo, you would use tactical advantage. You would use basic attacks with everybody else, but then you would use his bring low special if Teebo wasn't stealthed. So he would do a lot of damage to the captain, but then as a result of tactical genius, Teebo would get 100% turn meter, and you see how his stealth ability has 1 turn cooldown. So if he used that ability and then you had Tactical Genius on, he would gain full turn meter. This ability would then be off cooldown, so then Teebo would be able to use this ability, gain another 100% turn meter, and would definitely be stealth. Plus, you have the chance that as a result of Tactical Genius and getting Teebo to go again, you would actually get stealth from his lead ability. So there's a lot of fun variables here, and just kind of knowing how to use each of the different characters. And you can see how with turn meter reduction, you can kind of keep the captain controlled. I've gotten him my best so far. We'll see how far we'll record here, but I've gotten him down to 20% without having him actually use a turn. So you can see his cooldown up in the top left is 15 turns until he becomes enraged. And so I've actually had him down to 20%. Before that actually went down to 14. So turn meter groups are pretty effective in phase 1 right now. Here's kind of an interesting situation. Gamorrean captain doesn't have too much turn meter right now. I could potentially stealth with Teebo and try to remove the turn meter, but what I'm going to do is just kind of do a basic attack and try to hope that Qui-Gon and Tusken Raider kind of keep him occupied until then. So let's see. And Tusken Raider worked. So we removed turn meter, and now Teebo is ahead of the captain again. So we can just keep on rolling here. So it is a lot of checking out the turn meters, making sure you know kind of the positions and when everybody's going to go. And I can save his stealth ability for another turn now, because I got him with the lead ability. Okay, so he resisted, so I'll need to make sure I'm careful about the turn meter. Looks like Qui-Gon's helped. Okay, so Teebo's going again. Okay, so he resisted. So he went for the first time here that you saw. So I had a big string where I didn't get any turn meter reduction. It happens. So you guys will just keep on rolling. But you can see how with the first group, how by the time that we got him to summon his ads, so that was 6 turns into it, he was at like 82%. With the turn meter reduction group, his first turn came when I already brought him down 10%. So it's fairly easy to keep all of this controlled. Now with with a turn meter group, you can basically out turn meter reduction the death mark. So death mark is only on the character for 5 turns. And you could basically just keep on doing turn meter reduction and get that to wear off on a character. So you might not actually even need a death mark remover. I like Ewok Elder because he gives everybody turn meter. But even if you wanted to put in like an Ewok Scout without an Ewok Elder, or a Chewie as an additional turn meter reducer, it would actually work out really well. And you can see then how Rex probably ends up being the best person, because if you guys aren't familiar, Rex removes debuffs and negative effects, but he also removes turn meter with his basic. So he is basically the best phase 1 character right now. I'm going to play it safe here and just remove the death mark. Once I get past the first amount, I like to always just use Fusillade whenever it is up, just to refresh the speed, because you never know when it's going to resist. So that's just kind of me. You can do basic attacks also, and it'll work out the same. But just to kind of keep that in mind, you guys can use that however. We'll just keep on rolling here for a little bit. And you can see the captain's just, his turn meter kind of goes up and down. The slow is actually really critical, so that's why I say that you want to use your Fusillade whenever it's up, just to make sure that it stays. So we're running into a tight spot here. Hopefully he doesn't resist. Oh, he resisted. Come on, Qui-Gon. So it looks like he's going to go again. Okay, so you always have those kind of shots here. And we're still going. Fusillade is up. Okay, so I'm getting close to the point of where we were with the other attack. So hopefully now you guys can kind of see what the difference is between the Phasma lead, which does a good amount of damage, but you get to see the effectiveness of a turn meter reducing group. And you've also kind of seen how it's a little bit RNG based still. You increase your chances by making sure your potency is high. You use characters with turn meter reduction. You work with their synergy that allows you to kind of keep characters in rotation. But the main thing is that you have the best group composition that you can based on what you have available. So it may be the Phasma lead. It may be a turn meter reducing team. Whatever it is, make sure that you have the best group composition available for yourselves. And if you guys have any questions on all of our YouTube videos, we have the link to the Rebel Base Discord. So you guys are welcome to come to there, and I'm usually on there. I'll be Finity on there as well. Ranger is Ranger J 1999 on there as well. So if you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to come there and just go ahead and talk to us or any of the other people in the Rebel Base community. We're all pretty helpful, and a lot of us are soloing Phase 1 at this point. All right. So if there isn't anything else, I'll just let the gameplay kind of go here for a little while, and you guys can have fun listening and listening to the music too.